Hello everyone. Today I'm extremely happy to have sitting alongside me nobody else but Josh Strife Hayes.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to talking about the construction of the game, the foundation, where you want it to go to, the inspirations, the problems that you think you're going to face, and the solutions that you think you're going to bring to that. And I'm happy to offer any advice I can.
What did you know about Scars of Honor before coming here in our office? And how do you feel about spending several hours already with us? What is the difference that knowing before and after?
So I've worked in the MMORPG space as a critic and analyzing the videos and the games for many, many years. And I've had many people tell me that they have an idea. Ideas are 10 a penny. Ideas are everywhere. Everyone has an idea. The complicated part is turning the idea into something that actually exists, something that people are going to enjoy and people are going to play. So I went onto the website, I read all of the ideas, and they all sound great, as all ideas always do. And of course, I approach this with a bit of apprehension because you've got to be critical when you approach these projects. You can't get overly excited for everything. When I arrived at the office, lovely greeting, met the team, met the crew, all lovely people. And that's when I started to see that you'd taken the ideas and you'd made them into an actual playable game, which sounds really silly. It sounds very simple, but it's actually the hardest step to do. Most people don't do this. They sit in a pit of ideas without any practical kind of anything existing. So when you said, you have an idea, and you showed me your ideas for potential dungeons, potential raids, potential complexity within this game, and you said, would this work? And I can say, well, from my experience, I've played this game that does this game that does this game that does this. This is what I think the audience seem to be gravitating toward now. And you took that, you manipulated it, and now you have new ideas that I can see you're actively making into something new. The team had the idea to make a cool starting zone. I've played through a cool starting zone. The team had the idea to make workable 1v1 PvP. So I actually got to play workable 1v1 PvP. And that gap between the idea and actually having the thing is massive. But I've seen you bridge it with a couple of systems so far.
Yeah.
And I want to see you bridge it with a lot more.
There are good and there are bad things in Scars of Honor. What is the most important thing that you would like to see being addressed for the next version of the game?
So for me, when a player logs in to play any MMORPG, they have a fantastical world in front of them. They have choices, they have adventures they can go on, they have a class, they have a race, they have a faction. They have their adventure all laid out in front of them, all the possibilities. So for me, the most important thing is when I log in and the world loads and I get to see my character and I get to see the armor on it, that represents adventures that I've been on. I got this sword from this boss. I got this bit of armor from this quest. I got this thing from doing this thing. So to me, it's knowing that there's more adventures that I can go and have. Knowing that there's always a dungeon that's available to me. It's knowing that there's always possibly a jumping puzzle that's available to me. It's knowing there's always a wandering boss I can go and kill. It's knowing there's always a PvP thing that I can go and do. Every single time there's a new patch or a new update or a new addition, I'm asking myself, what extra adventures is this going to bring? I like the combat to be sharp and snappy. I like the exploration to have rewards for it. I like the bosses to be challenging, the mechanics to be varied. But that's just a mechanical thing. On a moment-to-moment gameplay level, I'm often thinking, why am I here? And if I can't answer that question, I'm going to leave. I need to log in and say, why am I here? Because I want to go and do something. The more things you can give me to want to do, the longer I'm going to stay.
Exactly. So this leads me again into the next question. You have downloaded Scars of Honor and this is your first experience with it. What is the best starting experience that you would like to see in Scars of Honor? What is important?
So to me, what's important is whenever I start a game, I like to feel that the world exists beyond me. As in, I'm there, but I'm not God. I'm not the most important person ever. As soon as I log into a game, if someone runs up to me and goes, oh my God, it's you, the savior of the universe. I've not done that. I would like to know that the world exists without me. Because then when I do something in the world, I feel that I've had a little bit of impact in it. And then maybe an NPC recognizes me. I'm not captain of the guard straight away, but I help out someone who needs a little errand running. And then maybe a local lieutenant notices me. I recognize you. You were someone that helped. Maybe you should go and talk to them and help some more.
Yeah.
I like to feel unimportant, because then when I become important, I've earned it.
It means something.
It does mean something. I've gained that.
Yeah.
My importance in the world is not given, it is earned. So to me, a starting experience on a mechanical level, it's very simple. You simply say to the player, you can do this, then you put them into an experience where they need to do that. You can move to talk to this NPC. You can jump over this gap. You can attack this enemy. That's all basic stuff. And then you start to layer them together. We need you to move and attack because you're being chased, but you need to do a certain amount of damage. We need you to move and jump. You're being attacked, shot at with arrows. Please jump over this bridge. You're combining and stacking all those mechanics together. And when I've experienced all those stacked mechanics, an NPC recognizes that I've done something in the world that's not amazing, but it's still relevant. And then I start to build up my reputation from there, stacking the mechanics and stacking the story on top of itself.
And having the excitement of achieving something. So, what do you believe is the worst mistake that a MMORPG game can make?
There's so many.
The worst of the worst.
An MMORPG, the first M, massively. And when you make anything massive, you increase the scope. You increase the scale. You say, okay, we're not just doing this, we're doing this, and this, and this, and this, and then this as well, and then this as well, and then there's so much stuff. And then a player logs in, and the player says, right, what's the foundation? What's the basics? Let's go all the way back to basics. I used to teach martial arts, and training a simple punch and a simple kick is incredibly important. If someone joins my class and straight away says, I want to learn to do a really complicated jumping, spinning, flipping kick that then falls into a punch and then a throw, I'd be like, oh, slow down. Let's get the foundation straight away.
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake that most MMORPGs make, because it is such a massive game, is they have massive ambitions from the very, very start instead of building a really solid foundation. Your movement, your combat, your very basic quest acceptance, quest hand-in, your world, the story behind it. That's all really foundational, solid stuff. When you've got that, okay, now we can have a really complicated deep dungeon. Now we can have a class that requires 2 classes to be leveled to the maximum and then combined together. Now we can have a really deep, complicated crafting system that adds into all this. We build on the foundation. It's almost like building a pyramid out of Lego bricks. You need to build a really solid foundation to hold the top brick. Most MMOs or most new games have so many ideas for awesome top bricks, but there's no foundation for them to sit on. So start small and build to that massive.
I see. So basically, we're speaking about foundations. The whole game is one foundation. However, inside, as you already mentioned, there is a lot of mini games, so to say. If you have to name 5 foundations that needs to be present in a MMORPG in order to be a successful one, which should they be?
It depends if we're talking more technical limitations or more moment-to-moment in-game. If we're talking technical, then things like the server stability, the structure for that, the infrastructure behind the game actually working on release, which is one of the most complicated things for an MMORPG to do. People go, oh, that MMO release was fantastic. I was only logged out the server for 6 hours. And if we have a solid foundation to build off on a technical infrastructure level, we're on a good start. Once we're in the game, movement. Your player's going to be pressing those W, A, S, and D keys a lot. I want to feel like they are responsive. I'm jumping a lot. I want to feel there's a bit of weight behind that jump. I'm moving and looking. I'm spinning the camera, holding left click, holding right click. This is it's probably the most popular system that the player's going to engage with. Moving.
100% they will be using it.
Once they have moved around, where does that movement take them to? What do they encounter within that world? How do we stop them going somewhere we don't want to? Are we just going to throw in the lazy invisible wall? Or is there going to be a big fence, a big sign saying no, a line of enemies that you can't get past until you've done something specific? How are we going to corral the player into the play space of the world? And then how do they escape from this? Because starting massively and letting you go anywhere from the start is an ambitious and brave choice, but we want to encourage the player to go somewhere. So movement straight away. And then we want to encourage the player to take a certain path without locking them off from anything else. We want to encourage them to walk across the bridge into a town, but we're not going to stop them diving under the bridge and finding a hidden cave that's full of high-level enemies. That's not in the game specifically. It's just a choice the player could make. So movement, and then exploration. around the world. When they find something, they're then going to interact with it. That is another major system. How does a player interact with the world? Can they just pick up items? Can they mine? Can they chop trees down? Are there resources to collect? When we fight an enemy, that is a combat interaction, which is a mini game within itself. And then do I get armor from that? Do I get weapons? Do I get stuff? How does that go on to me? If I equip a piece of armor, does it visually change my character? And that's probably the third biggest system. Visual change for your character based on the adventure that you've had and the stuff that you have equipped. If I have been through a snowy section, is my character going to have snow on them for a while? That is a visual representation.
Small details, but extremely important.
It's a representation of the adventure that I've been on. So we've got movement, we've got exploration, and we've got my character interacting with the world. I would say combat is one of the massive foundations. We are going to fight stuff, but how? If I just swing a sword at it, am I going to stand there statically and just wave the sword in front of me and watch the enemy's health deplete?
Yeah.
Or am I going to be in a stance? Am I going to really put some effort into that swing? Am I going to hear the impact, the kind of visceral feedback of combat? Is the enemy going to be staggered slightly? Is the damage number just going to be a really basic Comic Sans 1? Or am I suddenly going to see like a flash of a number that has a visual impact on me? Am I going to feel that combat, the act of combat, not just the victory, is rewarding in itself to go through? Because there are many games that I play, and even if I don't win the combat encounter, I'm thinking, God damn, that was fun. That was good. I enjoyed that. And there are certain games where I just have to feel the slog of combat, and I'm like, finally, it's over. Finally, I've won. I didn't enjoy that bit of combat, but I have won. So we have moved around, we have explored, we have equipped our character and interacted with the world. Then we've gone through the combat with the enemy and the visceral feeling of that. And then the fifth one is multiplayer. Why is it an MMORPG instead of a single-player RPG? If you want me to move, if you want me to explore, if you want me to equip and interact, and if you want me to fight, can we enhance all of these by doing it with somebody else as well?
That's the core of the MMORPG. Doing it with somebody else, doing it with a friend, doing it with a lot of people around you. So one of the most important things in recent days is mobile platform. There is a lot of players which are enjoying amazing games on mobile, and yet we don't see any good MMORPG there. Why?
Mobile is the largest video game console in the world. The mobile game market share is larger than PC and console put together. What we have effectively done is given almost the vast majority of the population on Earth one of the most powerful video game consoles in their pocket. It's more powerful than the second, third, fourth, fifth generation of consoles. So everyone has the ability to play games. And developers have looked at this and gone, right, we need to create games for everyone. And MMORPG games are not really for everyone. We'd like everyone to play them, but we are also aware that they take a lot of time. They take a lot of grind. They are a lifestyle unto themselves. So when developers were given this mobile platform, making someone sit and look at a screen for hours was not really their first intention. Their first intention was, we need to make a game that is very fast, very flashy, very short, very quick, that's going to respect the battery life and the screen real estate, the size with the UI of these games. Because MMORPGs have lots of skills along the bottom. They have lots of buttons to press, lots of things to do. I mean, you just look at a complicated boss fight in any of the larger MMORPGs, there's a hell of a lot going on at any given time. So condensing that UI and that complicated experience down to mobile size is a difficult thing to do. It's why I think some of the best mobile playable MMOs didn't start as that. They started as solid, respectable, decent MMORPGs on their own that were then ported over to mobile, and we said, right, we've got this good game. How do we make it playable on this system? And I think that shows a real change in the direction of the development. Instead of saying, how do we make a game that fits this system, they say, we've already got a good game. How do we change it so it works on this system as well? So designing an MMORPG for mobile, you can either make the best MMO you possibly can and then work out how the heck you're going to make it fit on a small screen. Or you can make a game that's going to fit on a small screen from the start, which is going to hamstring what the MMORPG could be.
Yeah, but if you go in the approach where you go with the direction of making it first on a mobile, then the desktop experience suffers for
Exactly.
Sure.
And you have to look at where the majority of your players are going to be. Now, more people have mobiles. It is the biggest game console. As much as some people don't like to admit that, it is the most popular gaming console pretty much ever made, the mobile phone. And if you create a game that works on mobile perfectly and amazingly and works in every way that a mobile phone is planned for, you then do have a weaker desktop experience.
Yeah.
So to create an experience that is equal on both of them is a very difficult thing to do. And we then have to look at, is it equal across the entire game? There are sections of certain mobile MMORPGs that work really well on mobile. And there are sections that you can try on mobile, but are too complicated because there's just too much clicking, there's too much switching, there's too much going on.
The behavior is different.
Yes. So having a game that is playable on PC and desktop and revels in the complexity that an MMO can bring, fantastic. Having the same game be playable on mobile where you don't do the complex stuff, you just do the side stuff, the simple stuff. That works as well.
Before sitting down here, we covered a lot of PV mechanics, dungeons. We spoke about the building system inside Scars of Honor. What is your opinion on the take? Should we go instanced or open world? What would you suggest is the best way?
We did have a long discussion about the building systems and about instanced housing, where a player clicks on, say, a portal or a post and it teleports them to their house. And their house exists in a separate universe away from the rest of the game. It still matches the game aesthetically, but it's not in the shared overworld. And then we looked at having houses within the shared overworld. Now, there are games that have done both. And my apprehension, I'm approaching this with a risk focus, is games that I've seen that allow the player to build whatever they want always end up with the player building a very certain shape that I can't say, otherwise this video will get demonetized, but everyone knows exactly what that shape is. And as a new player, I then walk round the side of a mountain, round the side of a forest, and I'm greeted by the structure in front of me. And suddenly it kills my immersion in this world. I'm thinking, right, this world is no longer taking itself seriously. It can be silly. I mean, every MMO, even serious ones, have silly elements. But when a world stops taking its own cohesion seriously, that's when we run into difficulties. So what we were talking about was a way to combine the safety of instanced housing, where the player can build something that looks aesthetically like what they want, and the grandeur of having non-instanced open world housing. Because it would be cool to turn around the corner and see a housing district, as long as it fits within the aesthetics of the game and it fits within the aesthetics of the locale. And it makes me look and go, oh, that's cool. I'd like a house. How do I get one? We don't want the players to feel that their experience is not being taken seriously. We want to feel that housing is relevant within the world, whether it's a reward for doing something, whether it's an aspiration to work toward. But letting players build stuff in the open world is dangerous. Because in general, players are rubbish at building things. You know it's true. I'm a player. I'm rubbish at building things as well. I wouldn't trust me to design a game. If someone says, hey, Josh, here's some stuff, build it. I'm going to build the exact structure that you are thinking about. And it would be funny to me for about 5 minutes. And then it would reduce the world to a joke. If you fill your game with jokes, your game becomes a container for jokes. So we want housing to feel fun, but also a level of serious.
So, if I have to be honest with you, I'm pretty sure that you probably worked somewhere as a game designer, because all these ideas that you had, that you shared with us, all the good stuff that we can expect, all the possible pitfalls where we can fall in, everything was extremely valuable for me and for the company. Thank you once again for being here with us.
You are more than welcome. Now, I wouldn't call myself a game designer, because I believe that what the game designers do is incredibly complicated and way beyond me. My first experience of that was when I was a child and I wanted to make a card game. So I drew a little tank on a card and I'm like, this tank does 1,000,000 damage. Then I drew a little fortress and I'm like, this force has 10 health. And then I looked and went, this is not balanced. There is a problem here. So I rejigged the numbers and I made it again. When I see people design games, I sometimes think, this looks like a child made it. And I know that because I was that child that used to make all those games with all those numbers and all those systems. And I designed what sounded cool, and then it did not work. And I learned why it didn't work. You learn way more from your failures than from your successes, which is good because I failed a lot. So then when I play games, I sit back and I ask myself, why does this work? Why am I enjoying this? What is good about this? What is bad about this? Why does this system work in this game but not in this game? And after years, I think I've worked out what doesn't sometimes work. That's as specific as I can be with it. But what you've done, and this is what I appreciate, is you've come to me with a foundation. Not massive dreams of, global dominance and grandeur, not crazy universe-expanding ideas. You said, hey, this is a very basic, simple foundation that we have built because we like games that do this. What problems can you see with this? And I've told you problems that I've encountered before, and you've gone, right, let's consider that. Let's deal that when we move on. So together we can work out what doesn't work. And eventually, after a couple of years, we'll have something that does.
Exactly. Thank you for this. Absolute pleasure, guys. Here with me today, Josh Strife Hayes.